All right, back at it again. All right, seeing the place to be. Ric Serritella here for the All Access Football Daily Show. Welcome to our second episode here on this Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. And we've got a jam-packed show for you today. In fact, we're going to welcome our first guest later on in the show. We're going to have Thor Nystro from fantasylife.com. Really excited to talk to Thor. I've been a big fan and follower of him since his Roto World days. He dives into the NFL draft. He's also going to hit us with some fantasy football advice. We're going to get a little fantasy football action in today because if you're like me and you have a fantasy football draft tonight or tomorrow before the season starts, we're going to give you some last-second sleepers, some guys to avoid, some guys on the rise. That'll be later on in the show. We'll have Thor at about 10:40. Coming up in the B block, we'll have some of my own fantasy football sleepers and some players I think should be on your radar. Some really good surprises. So stay tuned for that, especially some of the rookie impact players flying a little bit under the radar. We're going to bring you that. We'll also have some NFL news and notes. But we begin in Chapel Hill last night. What a disaster for Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels. It was a fumbleia by the bumbleia. I mean, Bill Belichick was lost for words, or was he just his usual self? We're on to Charlotte. Hey, Bill, who's going to start at quarterback next week? We'll take a look. I mean, it was so embarrassing. And the press conference was almost just as embarrassing as the on-field performance. In fact, when they put the cameras on the press box and you saw all the stars in attendance, MJ, LT, Mia Hamm, that, in fact, was the pinnacle of the Bill Belichick era in North Carolina. I hate to tell you, but that was it. That was the climax because it's going to be all downhill from here. And, listen, I saw, the first touchdown drive, North Carolina goes up 7-0. Everybody's ready to anoint the Tar Heels and Bill Belichick. Not so fast, my friends. TCU beat them down. It was bad. It was really bad in front of a sellout crowd. I know Franklin Street there in Chapel Hill has been talking about business is booming, but the on-field product is not booming so much. After that opening drive touchdown, it was all TCU all the time. I have to agree with Pete Thamel, who said, who was at the game talking to some of the NFL scouts, it's a talent deficient roster. And I'd have to agree with that because I was not aware, a lot of friends in the scouting community had hit me up this week saying, man, Belichick hasn't allowed any scouts into Chapel Hill. I'm honored in a way that I was able to get up there or down there during my All Access Football training camp tour. And I got to see hands-on. Bill was working. He was coaching these guys up. But when you don't have the talent, okay, it's kind of hard. But, Matt Patricia over at Ohio State did have the talent. He looks like a phenomenal coach. Bill Belichick, without Tom Brady, not so much. And I'm starting to wonder now, 48 points, by the way, the most points allowed ever in the history of Bill Belichick, the 6-time Super Bowl champion. 48 points, the most points he has ever allowed. So my question to you guys, was it really all Tom Brady? Is Bill Belichick even a good coach? Is he tarnishing his image here in Chapel Hill? It's a question worth pondering. I'm curious to know what your take is. I love to get interactive with it, whether you're watching live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter X. Drop us a line. Give me your thoughts. I'm just saying, ever since Tom Brady left, this guy can't win football games. Same story before Brady showed up in Foxborough in Cleveland. Belichick couldn't win football games. So we talked about yesterday Michael Lombardi. I don't know how he popped up on one of the most influential movers and shakers in the name, image, and likeness space, because what did the North Carolina NIL bring in? Aside from Thaddeus Dixon, who his son, Steve Belichick, brought over from Washington State. Outside of that, like, there's not a whole heck of a lot of talent. Marcus Allen, you saw the penalty there last night. Borderline draftable guy. Other than that, I mean, Dixon, Allen, and a bunch of nobodies. But again, like, will we see a brief stint from Bill Belichick? At what point does North Carolina get tired of the act? Word on the street, Jordan Hudson already put in her paperwork for the transfer portal. Now, they've got Charlotte coming up here September 6th. Short week, short turnaround. Today's the 2nd. They just got their beat down last night. They're going to come in today, lick their wounds, and then we're going to take a look at it. We're on to Charlotte. Well, guess what? Charlotte might have something waiting for you. A big can of whoop ass. And then what? What if you lose to Richmond on September 13th? At this stage of the game, I got to question whether North Carolina can even beat Richmond. I don't think they stand a shot against UCF and Scott Frost on September 20th. So there's a chance the North Carolina Tar Heels could be 0-4 with their bye week and 2 weeks to prepare for the beatdown coming by the hands of Clemson on October 4th, which, if TCU's putting up 48, what's Clemson going to do? Man, Dabo licking his chops, serving them up. Hey, we're chopping it up and breaking it down here at the All Access Football Daily Show. This is our 2nd episode. I hope you tuned in yesterday. We're going to have our first guest later on in the show, Thor Nystro from Fantasy Life. We have a jam-packed guest list for you this week, as a matter of fact. Tomorrow, we welcome in the great Howard Balzer, who's doing some great work for Cardinals Wire, but he's also a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. He's got over 4 decades of experience as a national NFL writer. We're going to hop on with Howard tomorrow and talk about some NFL storylines. We'll get into that NFL top 100. I think they unveiled the final top 10 last night. Talk about who was too high, who was too low, who might have snuck onto the list in the NFL top 100. Always a good exercise since it's voted on by the players. And then Thursday, we have Kayla Santiago, our residential Eagles insider, checking in from Delmarva Sports Network. If you're an old fan of the show from the football playbook days, then you know Kayla used to join us each and every week. So she's going to kick off the NFL season for that Cowboys-Eagles Thursday night matchup, which also on paper looks like another belt slapping coming up, served up by the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll get into that on Thursday. It's going to be a Football Friday affair with my good friend Neil Stratton from InsideTheLeague.com. InsideTheLeague.com has got you covered when it comes to the agent and scouting community. So we'll get you the rumblings, what's going on behind the scenes in the world of football on Friday. Every Saturday, we've got our guy Russell Landy joining us for a college football pregame show with a little bit of an NFL draft slant. We're going to preview the top matchups each week, highlight who those key prospects are, names on the NFL radar. This week, the big marquee matchup is going to be Oklahoma-Michigan. So we'll have a jam-packed show on Saturday. And then Sunday, it'll be our first Around the League NFL edition. Okay. Could there be a special guest? Possibly. Could it be Rick flying solo? Possibly. But we will go around the league, every game, lots of facts, tidbits, and information and predictions from yours truly on Sunday. So a jam-packed week for our first week of the All Access Football Show. And again, I love to get interactive with it. Please drop us a line, leave us a comment, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, because I don't ever want to be as bad as Good Morning Football. Terrible show, and I hate to be so forthright with it. I mean it with sincerity. Like, it's just a hard watch. Yeah, I tried to put it on this morning on the workout on the boardwalk. Good Morning Football. I said, maybe I'll get a little nugget of information, a little tidbit. Nothing. I mean, that show gives you nothing. Uh, just nothing but fluff. I mean, I'm waiting for these guys to start talking football. What a rodeo show. So please, we have higher standards. We're trying to talk real football. And I want to know what you want to see, what you want to like. I want to know, do people actually like that show? Because I sit there and just wonder who the heck watches this crap. I mean, I got it on in the background just to have some football on when I work sometimes. But man, I couldn't imagine people actually wait around for it to come on. I mean, I don't know. I'd love to hear from you guys, because do you think that's a good show? I don't know. Anyway, we'll try to be better here on the All Access Football Daily Show. Uh, we talked about the beatdown TCU just dealt Bill Belichick last night, and we got a few minutes here before our first commercial break. I want to get into some NFL news and notes. We spent a lot of time on the college football landscape yesterday. How about some transactions happening around the league? Micah Parsons, we haven't talked about the trade here, and we did discuss it last night on the New and Blue podcast, the New York Giants football podcast. Episode 6 aired last night. You can go over to allaccessfootball.com for that. But Micah has got a little bit of a back issue going on. And, he was prescribed a 5 cortisone shot regimen by the Dallas Cowboys prior to the trade. The Green Bay Packers were aware of the back issue before handing him that $188 million contract with $120 million guaranteed. But now he's limited in practice, and his status for the upcoming Lions game is questionable. He's going to try and give it a go, but he's going to need an epidural shot. And I can tell you firsthand, this is an L4, L5 situation. And anybody who has back problems like myself can tell you that's right there by the lumbar. I have the L5 lumbar spine surgery, and I had to have, I tried the epidural shots. You could only do 3 of them from what my doctors told me. And I'll be honest with you, none of them worked. Sometimes they don't hit the right spot. Sometimes they don't work at all. That's a 50-50 shot. So how much of an impact is that going to have on Micah Parsons? We shall see. Spoiler alert, tomorrow I'm going to have my NFL predictions, and I do have Micah Parsons as the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's going to make a significant impact for the Green Bay Packers. We're talking about a Reggie White type of impact. We're talking about an NFL trade that arguably one of the biggest trades in NFL history. Like, when do you see a marquee premier pass rusher in his prime dealt like that? Hey, we got to stop the run, according to Jerry Jones. So just a terrible trade, a terrible organizational move. And I now believe that the Dallas Cowboys are probably the worst team in the NFC East. Like, I think they're going to be keeping that basement pretty warm. All right, so we'll see. We'll keep tabs on Micah Parsons. Also dealing with a back issue is our guy Matthew Stafford. Now, he's been kind of on ice during training camp. Sean McVay said he's ready to go, going to start against the Texans. All right. Alaric Jackson, also dealing with blood clots, the offensive tackle there. Another topic I can speak firsthand on as someone who takes Eliquis daily. This is not an Eliquis commercial, but I'm very familiar with the blood clot situation. This is something you've got to monitor. Christian Barmore had a similar situation in New England last year and missed most of the season. Now, Alaric Jackson should be good to go, but you just never know with the blood clots. That can pop up anytime. You've got to really be on top of that, monitor it, check it, especially when you're in a physical, violent contact sport like football. So the Rams, they seem to be banged up every year, but they somehow find a way. And, between the combination of Matthew Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, they're going to try to band-aid this through the season. I've got the Rams going to the Super Bowl. Another spoiler alert. Or the NFC Championship. Or maybe the Super Bowl. You have to tune in for the official prediction tomorrow. But I'm a big believer in the Rams. But it's all going to hinge on Matthew Stafford's back. I truly believe that. So as far as that back holds up, is as far as the Rams will go. Now, also on ice during most of training camp or all of training camp was Najee Harris, who was brought in by the LA Chargers during the offseason to have that fearsome 1-2 punch in the backfield on Marion Hampton, Najee Harris. You might recall the fireworks incident that messed up his eye pretty good there. Really can't see out of one eye, but he is now fully cleared for the first time. And there's a possibility, according to head coach Jim Harbaugh, that Najee Harris could suit up for that Friday night football affair between the Kansas City Chiefs and LA Chargers. And we'll get into some of the division predictions because I don't think the Chiefs are winning that division this year. I'll tell you who tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Also, how about Najee Harris's former backfield mate, Jalen Warren? Now, Pittsburgh had no qualms letting Najee walk out the door. Of course, they brought in Caleb Johnson via the draft, but they're very comfortable with Jalen Warren, the undrafted free agent from 2022. What a journey he's been on. I mean, really, from Snow College to Utah State to Oklahoma State to undrafted free agent to backup to now projected starter. Oh, and now, by the way, a new 2-year extension, $12 million guaranteed for a total of $17.25 million over the next 3 years. That's a pretty good bargain discount rate for a guy who on paper technically is your starter. We shall see. Caleb Johnson's running style really fits that Pittsburgh Steelers mold to a T. I mean, he's very similar to a Najee Harris. Will he be as good? We shall see. But Pittsburgh locking up that backfield, at least for the next few years, between Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson. That's going to be a little thunder and lightning combination there. I think the Steelers are going to be in the hunt for one of those wild card playoff spots. Again, we'll do the predictions tomorrow. Also, catching my attention was Tyreek Hill. Trouble brewing in paradise. I mean, there seems to be like a dark cloud cast over this Miami Dolphins team. Are the players running the asylum? I don't know. Mikey McDaniel, he's on the hot seat. I don't have big expectations for the Dolphins. In fact, they might be the worst team in the AFC East. How about that? I don't know if Mike McDaniels makes it through the season. I don't know if Tyreek Hill makes it through the year as a member of the Miami Dolphins because he's just been causing trouble. I know he had issued apology again last week. There was another apology earlier in training camp. Him and Tua maybe not seeing eye to eye. Maybe the act is wearing thin. He's going to be 31 years old, that cheetah. I could see them dangling him on the trade market. For whatever it's worth, Tua was named the captain, as was Alec Ingold. And then new captains for the Dolphins included Aaron Brewer, Jordan Brooks, Bradley Chubb, but not Tyreek Hill, which is saying something when he's your best player. So could Tyreek Hill be dangled before the trade line? It's a real possibility. I just talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're looking for a number 2 wideout behind DK Metcalf. They have a pendant for taking on these big personalities. Mike Tomlin can handle it. Boy, wouldn't that be exciting? Pittsburgh's got some talent now, like Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, TJ Watt. I put out a poll, like, how many future Hall of Fame inductees are on this current Pittsburgh? Darius Slay, you can state an argument for. I mean, this team has got tremendous talent, the Pittsburgh Steelers, but Aaron Rodgers, how good we feeling about that? I don't know. All right. Also, one last item I want to get to before we take a quick break. How about Jabril Peppers? He's just hanging out on the free agent market. Bold move by Mike Vrabel. cutting Jabril Peppers, saying he doesn't fit into our scheme. He's looking for a more traditional safety. Pepper is more of a hybrid safety. They moved him a lot, transitioned him around there in New England the past couple seasons. But I wonder, New York Giants, again, I did the New and Blue podcast show last night with Dan Orlando. Safety, big concern for the Big Blue. Could they reunite? Jersey guy, previously with the Giants, would make a lot of sense. I saw Jabril Peppers almost acting as his own agent, trying to sell himself out there on the Twitterverse. Hey, I played for 9 coaches, all these schemes. You can teach me anything. I can play anywhere. So we shall see. Jabril Peppers, also Gabe Davis hanging out. There was some workouts and tryouts. Nobody actually has officially signed him yet. Where will Gabe Davis land? Some talk maybe he might head back up to Buffalo. All right, so some NFL news and notes after scouring the college football landscape yesterday. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and come back with some of my fantasy football sleepers. Later on in the show, we'll have Thor Nystro from Fantasy Life talking about some of his fantasy football sleepers. And today's show, I just want to remind everybody, is brought to you by Talking Sopranos. They're coming to Chicago this Saturday. Athenium Center, downtown. Michael Imperioli, Steven Sherpa. It's going to be a real intimate experience, talking conversations about Sopranos. And we got the hookup, VIP experience. Contact my guy over at sopranosbookingagent@gmail.com. Tell him Rick sent you. sopranosbookingagent@gmail.com. Tickets are almost gone, okay? But if you go through my guy, he's got a couple on the back burner. He's going to hook you up. He's going to take real nice care of you. Again, just tell him Rick sent you. sopranosbookingagent@gmail.com. Okay. Also, make sure you stay tuned for the QB Huddle podcast show later on today. We also have Scouting the League podcast that is syndicated on the All Access Football platform. So we've got lots of shows, lots of content. Yesterday, we published the Scout Notebook from all the college football action in week 1. Tomorrow, we will publish the world famous All Access Football Report, read by all 32 NFL teams, 50,000 subscribers from over 70 countries around the world. We're getting international with it, okay? And we've got a great promo for you over at the allaccessfootball.com website. If you use our promo code RIC VIP, you'll get a 30% discount. That's going to unlock our Draft Insider, all of our NFL Draft Watch team reports, the All Access Football Report, the Scout Notebook. You'll also get a copy of the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, which features over 500 scouting reports for that 2026 NFL Draft. Nobody covers the NFL Draft like All Access Football, courtesy of the NFL Draft Bible Scouting Department. Lauren Davidoff, Dom Ambrios, Ryan Paglia, Jarrett Regal. They're doing an outstanding job as we prepare you. 238 days away from Destination Pittsburgh and the 2026 NFL Draft. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with some of my fantasy football players you should be aware of. Hey, RIC in the place to be. Ric Serritella for the world famous All Access Football Report, read by 32 NFL teams, over 50,000 subscribers from 70 countries around the world. Checking in here from the legendary Jersey Shore, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show. It's been a long working process. It's been 3 years since I've been on hiatus from a daily talk show. I've grown significantly, a lot of trial and tribulations during that span. The growth personally and maturity professionally is coming into your living room, raw, unfiltered, unapologetic, real football talk. Okay, I hope you're enjoying the content. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard. Buckle up. It's a can't stop, won't stop situation. We'll be with you every day, 7 days a week, Sunday through Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. The football universe flows through my veins, and I'll tell you what, we've got a locked and loaded guest lineup here for you throughout the week, so don't go anywhere. give us a visit over at allaccessfootball.com. We have a great promo sale going on for our listening audience. RIC VIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of allaccessfootball.com. You can follow the link in the chat room below. We love to get interactive with it. Drop us a line. Give us a shout. You got questions, we got answers. It's Ric Serritella, so you know who said it. Telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin. Since 2002, it's our 24th season of independent coverage, and we welcome you aboard, everybody.
She got it. Bye.
All right, back at it again. All right, seeing the place to be. Ric Serritella here on the All Access Football Daily Show. Our second episode here on this September 2nd, 2025. We've got Thor Nystro coming up in the C block. Later on in the show, he's going to be breaking it down, chopping it up. We'll get a little NFL draft talk, fantasy football advice for your last second drafts. And then tomorrow, we welcome the legendary Howard Balzer, 4 decades of covering the National Football League. Of course, now doing great things for the Cardinals Newswire. We'll have our NFL predictions segment. We'll go around the league with Howard, some of the top storylines we're keeping an eye on for this upcoming season. And, of course, my Super Bowl prediction. Buckle up for that. Thursday, Kayla Santiago joins the show to break down the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles NFL kickoff on Thursday night. Football Friday affair with Neil Stratton, my guy, CEO at InsideTheLeague.com. He's going to bring us the latest rumblings from the scouting community and the agent industry. Very cool stuff there if you like to know how the sausage is made. And then Saturday, Russell Landy will be joining us every Saturday throughout the season for a special college football preview show with the NFL Draft Slant. If you want a college football show with the top prospects, scouting analysis, verified measurements, insider intel, we're going to bring that all to you on Saturday. Of course, that Oklahoma-Michigan matchup we've got circled on the calendar. Sunday, oh, baby. I get excited for the Sunday. You know, I cut my teeth in this business with the Mike and the Mad Dog show. We used to do the Sunday NFL Now. It was one of the only nationally syndicated shows. And I don't want to say I'm going to be like Mike Francesa, but if you remember the old school traditional sports talk format with Mike and the Mad Dog, that's where my roots lie. That's what I grew up on. That's what I'm trying to bring to you. Real football talk, not this fugazi nonsense I see floating around on the mainstream media show. All right. So listen, buckle up. I've got some fantasy football sleepers for you here before Thor comes in about 10 minutes or so. And our guy, Jarrett Regal, tuning in. Shout out to Jarrett. He's got a couple sleepers for you, some rookies to keep an eye on. Bashaw Tootin. I like that young man. The running back there for Jacksonville out of Virginia Tech, I believe. He could eventually win that starting job. You know, they've got a few guys in the mix, and I'm not sure who's going to start week 1, but for the long run, Tootin, with that breakaway speed, I can see him busting long runs, scoring some touchdowns. So we'll keep an eye on that young man. And then also he threw out Pat Bryant from the Denver Broncos. You know, they traded Devon Veely, who I thought was showing some promise. One of the reasons they did that because of the emergence of Pat Bryant, the big, lengthy wide receiver out of Illinois. Ran a little bit slow, 4.62, so he was selected a little bit later maybe. But Denver, you know, looking for a wide receiver. Pat Bryant, a sleeper courtesy of Jarrett Regal. All right, I'm going to try to give you one guy or two guys at each position. And I would stay away from the rookie quarterbacks. I wouldn't mess with Cam Ward or Jackson Dart or any of the rookie quarterbacks. But one guy who I think is going to post QB1 numbers and maybe not be taken within the first 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks drafted in your fantasy football league is Bo Nix. I think Denver's in for a big time season. He's mastered that Sean Payton offense. Sean Payton's finally got his Drew Brees. And Bo Nix, I see him eclipsing 4,000 yards this year. I've got him projected for 33 touchdowns and 10 interceptions out of Bo Nix. So you can get QB1 value there, maybe in the middle of your rounds after all the big names come off the board. You sit silently and wait patiently for Bo Nix, and he will deliver. All right, at running back, I'm going to give you two rookies that I think are going to have a mega impact this year. And, I saw it down at the Hula Bowl where he was explosive and fast and turning all the heads of the scouts in attendance. He then got called up to the East-West Shrine Bowl where he went on to be the game MVP. I said, holy cow, this Jacory Krosky Moret, I slapped a 4th-round grade on him. And I felt I was being too conservative because nobody else I talked around the league, I even had a draftable grade on him. I said, are you kidding me? This guy looks like a top 100 talent. It just goes to show you, even after 24 years of doing this, I got to stop letting outsiders influence my projections. I slapped a 4th-round grade on him. I don't think anybody in the draft media industry had a higher grade on Jacory Krosky Moret, who now goes by the name of Bill. But Austin Eckler, I mean, listen, that guy's on the back 9. Krosky Moret, this is going to be the bell cow there. I would not be surprised if he goes for 1,000 rushing yards and gives you 6 touchdowns. All right. How about Houston with Joe Mixon out? Nick Chubb is certainly going to get some work there, but he's coming back off of a major injury. And again, another guy that shined down at the Senior Bowl, Woody Marks. Love his elusiveness. He's slippery in space. But honestly, I thought he was probably the best slot receiver in terms of running backs coming out of the 2026 NFL draft. I think Woody Marks is going to do some severe damage in that Houston backfield. In fact, I think he gives you 1,000 yards, but not rushing. I think he's going to give you maybe 400 or 500 rushing and then 500 or 600 receiving. I think they'll utilize him as a receiver quite a bit. Maybe 5 touchdowns for Woody Marks. You could probably plug him in late in your draft. I definitely love me some Woody Marks. Okay. I had a chance to go down to Tennessee Titans camp. I think it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster ride with Cam Ward, which is why I said to maybe stay away. But Calvin Ridley, my God, this guy is a rare specimen. It was a pure joy. Like, I honestly had to sit back and just take a second to appreciate the route running of Calvin Ridley. It's just on another level. And now he's got a quarterback who can get him the ball. Him and Cam Ward have developed quite the chemistry down there during Tennessee training camp. And I'm looking for Calvin Ridley to have a career year. In fact, a career year would be more than his 1,346 yards 3 years ago. I got him going for 1,385, double-digit touchdowns, 10 touchdowns out of Calvin Ridley. He's not being taken amongst those top wide receivers in your fantasy football drafts, but I'll tell you this, Calvin Ridley is going to outproduce a lot of them that go ahead of him, okay? Now, you want to roll the dice? You're a little bit of a gambling man? You want to take a risk? See if it pays some dividends? This is Dante Thornton for the Las Vegas Raiders. My God. He's a deep field threat. Remember Alvin Harper, who came out of Tennessee for the Dallas Cowboys? Dante Thornton has that big play capability. Another guy that comes to mind is the New Orleans receiver, Rashid. He's got that kind of big play capability. So you might not get a lot of catches in a PPR, maybe 30, 40 catches, but I could see him going for 700 receiving yards, maybe 7 touchdowns. I think Dante Thornton is going to announce himself to the NFL. And after Emeka Egbuka, it's possible Dante Thornton might be the most impressive rookie wide receiver in the National Football League this year. So I love me some Dante Thornton, stock up on him. And how about the tight end position? Because, I was a little bit taken aback when Colston Loveland went ahead of Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is a stud. I mean, he is a man amongst boys. I could see him coming in and maybe even leading the Colts in receiving. It's not that far-fetched to think he's going to be a safety valve there, whether it's Daniel Double Nichols or Anthony Richardson. They're going to be targeting Tyler Warren, I believe, quite a bit. So, I'm looking at 600 yards, maybe 5 touchdowns for the rookie out of Penn State, who I had a chance to scout in person and is just an incredible talent. And then, one guy, I think I'm going to give you 3 tight ends because tight ends are so tough. And, who likes to invest a high draft pick in one of the top tight ends? I always try to wait and maybe buy some timeshares. But, Luke Musgrave, a couple years ago as a rookie, he made a huge impact. He was hurt for most of the season last year, but rave reviews. In fact, I traded for him in my dynasty league because I think Musgrave is going to be a nice kind of fill-in guy on your bench. Like your starter gets injured, you have a bye week. Luke Musgrave is going to be bargain bin value. You might even be able to get him with one of your final picks of your fantasy football draft. I mean, I've got him around 400 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, which isn't world-beating stats. But again, we're talking about a backup tight end in deeper leagues. Luke Musgrave, maybe he outproduces Tucker Kraft. I mean, it's very possible there in Green Bay. They don't have a go-to target per se, but I think you're going to see a lot of 12 personnel with Kraft and Musgrave, and I think Musgrave will be the beneficiary of that. Okay, one other guy. Again, you want to roll the dice? You want to catch lightning in a bottle? How about arguably the fastest tight end in the entire league, Elijah Arroyo? Whoa. This guy was hitting 22 miles per hour on the catapult down there at the Senior Bowl, leaving defenders in his dust. I saw the preseason exchange after the game between Arroyo and Travis Kelce. And, Kelce went up to him and gave him dap and was like, yo, you're just going to be one of those dudes who just come in and crush the league. And, for Travis Kelce to say that, he doesn't have to go out of his way to do that. He saw something in that young man. I see something in that young man. And I'll tell you what, why wouldn't he be the Seahawks starting receiver? I mean, that is going to be electrifying. That kid, Elijah Arroyo, he's probably got more upside. Like Musgrave is the safer pick. Tyler Warren, probably the safer pick. But Elijah Arroyo has got more upside than both of those guys. Like, there's no cap on this guy. I have him coming in 600 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns for his rookie season, Elijah Arroyo. And again, I don't think he's going very high in your fantasy football draft. So couple sleepers there for you guys to bump up your draft board, write down for the later rounds, try to give you some guys that you might not be that familiar with, or maybe that you're not expecting to have monster years, but those are some of my favorite guys that I'm targeting in fantasy football drafts. And now that all my fellow owners are probably tuned in watching, they'll probably leapfrog me now tomorrow night in my fantasy football draft. So thanks guys for tuning in. But hey, I can't deprive the people here. We're the people's champ. Ric Serritella, telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin. We are your home for real football talk. Check us out, allaccessfootball.com. Read by 50,000 subscribers from 70 countries around the world, all 32 teams. Use our promo code RICVIP. Unlock the magic. Get a 30% discount right now. Get all of our draft intel, the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, a lot of perks and benefits if you want to learn about the NFL stars of tomorrow. Get down on it today. I still got a few packs of Canadips too. So if you order in the next half hour before the end of the show, I'll throw in a pack of free Canadips. I'll drop them in the mail. Lavalette Post Office is right across the street. So buckle up for that. All right. And buckle up as we get ready to welcome in our first guest of the All Access Football Daily Show. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Thor Nystro of Fantasy Life is going to join us. Buckle up, everybody. Hey, RIC in the place to be. Ric Serritella for the world-famous All Access Football Report, read by 32 NFL teams, over 50,000 subscribers from 70 countries around the world. Checking in here from the legendary Jersey Shore, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show. It's been a long working process. It's been 3 years since I've been on hiatus from a daily talk show. I've grown significantly, a lot of trial and tribulations during that span. The growth personally and maturity professionally is coming into your living room, raw, unfiltered, unapologetic, real football talk. Okay, I hope you're enjoying the content. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard. Buckle up. It's a can't stop, won't stop situation. We'll be with you every day, 7 days a week, Sunday through Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. The football universe flows through my veins, and I'll tell you what, we've got a locked and loaded guest lineup here for you throughout the week, so don't go anywhere. Give us a visit over at allaccessfootball.com. We have a great promo sale going on for our listening audience. RIC VIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of allaccessfootball.com. You can follow the link in the chat room below. We love to get interactive with it. Drop us a line. Give us a shout. You got questions, we got answers. It's Ric Serritella, so you know who said it. Telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin. Since 2002, it's our 24th season of independent coverage, and we welcome you aboard, everybody. All right, welcome back. Thanks for those kind words, Oceana. We're just getting started here on the All Access Football Daily Show, our second episode coming live into your living room 7 days a week, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off. And we've got a jam-packed show for you lined up all week with special guests. And I'm really excited because he is our first official guest on the All Access Football Daily Show. And he's also making his debut on the entire platform. In the history of my entire existence, I have yet to have him on the show. I've been looking forward to it. It's been a couple weeks in the making. He is a fantasy sports writer, Association College Sports Writer of the Year. He's been honored by the Rolling Stone. We like the diversity in the background. I, too, once upon a time worked in the music industry, so we talk about versatility in the NFL scouting world. Well, my man has got versatility in the professional music industry, the football industry. He's also got some experience writing for MLB.com for his Minnesota Twins. And you probably remember him most from the Roto World days. He was the college football and NFL draft analyst there for the Fantasy Pros. Now he is doing big Willie things over at fantasylife.com. We welcome him to the show, Thor Nystro, on the All Access Football Daily Show. Buckle up, Thor. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Rick. Good to see you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I've been a big fan for many, many years. I love your work. I love your content. And I now see that you're linked up with the Fantasy Life guys, Matthew Berry's new venture. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it's a good site. A lot of good coworkers there. A lot of smart guys. A lot of guys that are smarter than me, Rick. But Fantasy Life, we got some big things going on this year. Guillotine leagues in particular. My buddy Paul Charchian, that's his baby. Paul Charchian, a guy I know in town here in the Twin Cities. But sign up for Guillotine leagues. If people out there have never played Guillotine leagues and you like playing fantasy, you'll really enjoy it. It's a format where if you get the bottom score in a given week, your team gets cut and then your whole roster gets thrown out to the waiver wire. So it's like a little mini auction every single week. But come and check us out at Fantasy Life. And for NFL draft sickos, more to the point with us, Rick, the stuff that we love, all my NFL draft work is at Fantasy Life as well.
I know you do. You dive into the NFL draft work, and I was reading about that this morning, actually, the Guillotine League, because I've been playing fantasy football. I'm dating myself here since 1988, and I just heard about it this morning. So I'm glad that you enlightened it. It's almost like a survivor league for fantasy.
For sure. That's exactly what it's like. Yeah. And it's kind of cool because like if you have a dead end team, like you get to get out of the season early, basically, which I like. You don't have to check back in. But then if you advance till the end, like I was fortunate enough to do last year in our in company league, like I was playing against all these killers like Matthew Berry, the founder of the company, and Dwayne McFarland, just all these assassins. And I fortunately made it to the final three. I didn't get any further than that. But you get involved with these auctions every single week. We love auctions more than snake drafts, like when we're dispersing players like in the summer and August. And this is a format where it allows you to do that in the season because you're bidding on these chopped rosters.
Now that's very cool. I'm actually going to go and sign up for one of those leagues. I'm just curious, by the way, who took home the crown last year? Was it Barry or?
No, it was Dwayne. Rick, I talked so much smack when we got into the final three because I had saved my whole free, like my waiver wire, the entire budget I had. I saved it for the end. And so Matthew Berry, the founder, he was the fourth guy who was eliminated. And I basically just inherited his whole roster because I had the money to do it. And the final three, it was me, Dwayne, and Matthew Friedman. And I talked so much smack on all the shows like that I had that week of like, you know, I'm just going to waltz to the championship. I lost by like 50 points that week. Like I finished like 50 points beneath both Friedman and McFarland. They have not let me forget it. On a show the next week, they were playing all the smack that I had talked and everything like that. I'm hoping to get my revenge this year, but I talked a lot of noise last year, couldn't back it up. So maybe I'll just let the team do the talking this year.
Yeah, you pulled a Bill Belichick on us.
That's right. That's right. Man, that was crazy last night, wasn't it?
Well, you know, before we dive into the fantasy football talk, I know you're tapped into the NFL draft. You're one of the few guys who follows it all year long. What were your takeaways from the college football week one action? A lot of moving and shaking.
Oh God, a lot. I mean, the Arch Manning thing, we'll have to get into that. That was stunning to me. Watching that, it was like he'd never watched a football game before. You know, like I mean, even beyond his arm didn't have juice in that game, but the field reading, there was no field reading going on. Like the decision making, he was finicky in the pocket. That was crazy. The Ohio State defense, there's several defenders we could talk about there, but I do tip my hat to Matt Patricia. I was wondering about that hire.
Yeah.
But he immediately got them off the ground with those changing the looks right after the snap. And like I said, it was like Arch Manning was playing in his first football game. He didn't know what he was seeing, basically. Those are a couple of takeaways. Last night was kind of interesting. I mean, this isn't as much for an NFL draft thing because I don't think this guy's going to play in the league. But I was in the stadium for the Gophers opener last year against UNC when Max Johnson suffered that just devastating injury.
Yeah.
You know, like, and Brad Johnson his father was in the building for that game. And it was like one of those where like for 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the stadium, you could hear a pin drop. I thought when he was carted off there, that was the last time we were going to see Max Johnson in a football uniform. And for him to come back, you know, they talked about amputating his leg, like in the week or two after that. For him to be healed, come back, and then in the opener the next year, be able to take over, not only be active, but get on the field. And Max Johnson played really well. I was wondering over the offseason, you know, if Max Johnson, you want to play another season of college football, why do you go back to UNC? Because they had signed Gio Lopez, you know, the kid from South Alabama that they were going to start. I believe it's because Max Johnson wants to become a coach after this, you know, and you're under Belichick. You can spend a year with him. But prior to that, you know, he was under Mac Brown before that. He played at LSU and A&M under really good coaches as well. So I think that's a kid that just wants to make connections with that. He loves the game of football. He'll probably get into coaching after this, but he's going to keep that starting job. You can't give that job back to Gio. So if he has a good season, he'll get a UDFA contract if nothing else, and someone will kick the tires this coming off season. But yeah, very impressive with Max Johnson.
That's why we bring you on the show, Thor, because you're right on the money. I had a chance to visit Chapel Hill down there in training camp, and you know, Bill Belichick actually compared Max Johnson to one of his former quarterback proteges in New England, and Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh.
So
that
Yeah, that was his comparison for Max Johnson. So I do believe he has a future in coaching. He'll probably give it a go in the playing career. I've already talked to some of the All-Star game coordinators who have Max Johnson on their list for invites. So he'll be making an appearance there, and we're looking forward to that. Now, we brought you on. Like, I have a last-second fantasy football draft tomorrow night. I've been in the league for 25 years, always looking for an insider edge. That's what you're here to provide us with. Before we dive into it, I'm just curious, have you figured out a team name, or have you gotten creative with a team name this year? My team name for the 2025 season is the Jersey Shore Surf Sharks.
I love that. I love that, Rick. I watch your videos in the morning, so I like that. I like getting you being out there on the shore and everything. Now I'm in Minnesota, so we don't have that kind of, So I live vicariously through you, basically. But my team names this summer have leaned heavily towards my love of JJ McCarthy. So I got a couple teams with McCarthyism. And then just different plays on words with the JJ and the Jets and McCarthy, basically.
Yeah, and I actually view JJ McCarthy as an upgrade over Sam Darnold. I know it's crazy to say or sound because he's a rookie, he's coming off an injury, but I think the Vikings are actually going to be better with McCarthy at the helm. How do you see it?
Yeah, that's 100%. I mean, first off, Kevin O'Connell's never not had a 4,000-yard passing team since he's been calling plays. That it goes without saying that part of it is automatic. What McCarthy gives you that Darnold didn't is two different things: the rushing element, the legs, the escapability, something that we haven't seen with the Vikings quarterback under O'Connell. I was down at practices in Egan watching them do their goal line drills. Fans out there, you will see a lot more of the quarterback's legs being used in particular around the goal line this coming season than you've seen in the past. And that, of course, has manifest for fantasy and potential scores there. But Jordan Mason, who they brought in to be the running back, he's going to be the goal line guy. But you're seeing a lot of this stuff of like, give the defense a look, and then give it to him again. But this time McCarthy pulls it, and now he's going around the right. We're bootlegging out to the right. Give him a little option route. If he's got the guy, great. If not, tuck it and try to run in. So you're going to see stuff like that. But yeah, Rick, to your point, and the one other thing I was going to mention, McCarthy, you're bringing back the intermediate throws, 10 to 19 yards down the field in between the hashes. Sam Darnold has that big downfield arm, and we saw more explosive plays last year because of it. But those intermediate throws in between the hashes, a hallmark of Kevin O'Connell's offense, were more or less taken out last year or greatly minimized from what we had seen in the past, because that's not Sam Darnold's game. That is JJ McCarthy's game. So Kevin O'Connell is also going to get to go back to his full complement of his playbook, the offense that he wants to call this year. And I agree with you, Rick. I think it's a quarterback upgrade, and I think the Vikings are a very dangerous team starting this season.
Yeah, great insight here by Thor Nystrom. And I don't doubt Kevin O'Connell's selection either. Like, he sees something in McCarthy. He knew that's his guy. And I gotta say, I forget, it might have been the final Vikings preseason game, but they had Kevin O'Connell mic'd up for the entire quarter. And it was just a fascinating, I mean, the insight he was providing us, and he was so forthright with it and transparent. And I just don't recall ever, like, we see these sideline interviews, but like O'Connell was really feeding you great info.
100%, Rick. My opinion is that if Kevin O'Connell had not gone into coaching, he started out for a little bit after his playing career, like a year or maybe two, where he did broadcasting stuff. If he had just stayed with that, he'd be one of the best in the game right now. He would be an absolute superstar in media. He's so gregarious, and he's such a good communicator, and his ability to distill an extremely complicated, picture that, of an NFL play to the average audience member. You saw that I think it was the third quarter of that final preseason game. Yep. And like, I'll just give one example of this, Rick, for folks out there that didn't get to watch that third quarter. There was a play where, the Vikings come out in their set, and O'Connell's just sort of talking about the play. And there was like this little motion thing in the pre-snap. And O'Connell was explaining to the announcers, what we're looking for here is a single high safety look. And if we get it, we're going to be able to, we're going to get a downtown shot on this. And it started out as two high safeties. Well, one of the safeties starts creeping forward, and O'Connell said, there it is. This ball's going down the field. And that was before the snap, right? And so when we talk about like pre-snap reads against post-snap reads, like, that's in part why O'Connell's quarterbacks are so good at that. There's like this holistic understanding of the play call when you get this certain defensive look, and this is where you're going to go. And he also sort of empowers you then to make the decisions on the fly if your first thing's taken away. But in that case, we knew we were going to get the one-on-one shot. So the guy sneaks forward. O'Connell says this one's going downtown. The ball snapped, and indeed they got that one-on-one look downtown. He swore on that one too because there was there was like a motion penalty or whatever. But anyway, it was like very, very cool to see him breaking down what you see there out on the field. I agree with you, Rick. Very insightful stuff.
Oh, it was incredible. Like, if you're just a fan of the game, go back and watch that third quarter of the final fight. Like, you're going to learn some football. I mean, it was great. It was just great. And you don't get that. I mean, I don't know where else you're going to get that type of coverage. Now, I don't know where else you're going to get the fantasy football insight like our guy Thor Nystro, fantasylife.com. Make sure you check it out. That's where we're going to be running our leagues moving forward. That's for sure. Now, let's get into some of Thor's top dogs in fantasy football this year. Give me a few guys here that you're higher on than the general consensus.
Yeah, a couple guys for you. One of the big ones for me is Ricky Pearsall from the 49ers. I've been banging the drum for him all summer. You have all the dudes that left the 49ers. You have the injuries. You have the Juwan Jennings thing, whatever's going on with that. Ricky Pearsall has been their wide receiver one during camp. He's looked the best out there. He has functioned as their wide receiver one. He will be the 49ers wide receiver one this coming season. And Rick, I don't know where you were at with Pearsall coming in. I saw a lot of Adam Thielen in Ricky Pearsall, and I think this year people are going to see it, with him functioning as one of those primary receivers for the 49ers, a guy that runs really good routes and a guy who has an incredible set of hands. Ricky Pearsall in college made some catches where it was like it came out of the Matrix. It's like, how the hell did you come down with that? The one where he caught it with the one hand against Charlotte, and then he got smoked and he somehow held on to the ball. But Ricky Pearsall is a guy that I would toss out there. JJ McCarthy, we already mentioned. I still think he's a value where he's going. Another quarterback I would toss out is Trevor Lawrence, that I think is getting taken too late. Trevor Lawrence, we know he's got all the physical ability, and he's been stranded in a bad offense the last couple of years, an offense where there's been a lot of injuries around him. In addition to that, you not only have fortified some of the skill talent around him, in particular with Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, a perfect complement to Brian Thomas Jr. You get Liam Cohen in there. And Liam Cohen, one of the better play callers that we have out there, a guy that his game plans are specific to the opponent and to his personnel, but also week in, week out to the opponent. Liam Cohen was able to simplify things enough, have a complicated system for the defense, but simple enough for his offensive playmakers that Will Levis, his second to last year at Kentucky, looked like a real student of quarterback play, playing for Liam Cohen. I really respect the play caller there. Those are three guys I'd toss out. One last one from the Vikings, Jordan Mason, I think is an enormous sleeper. People don't seem to be getting it, even though the Vikings have stated this since they acquired him. Jordan Mason will be splitting touches with Aaron Jones. And not only that, Jordan Mason's going to get all the goal line stuff, which we really care about for fantasy. This is seen as a scandalous take, where I actually just think this is the favorite outcome. Jordan Mason is going to finish with more fantasy points this year than Aaron Jones, even though Aaron Jones gets picked rounds and rounds ahead of Aaron Jones, or I'm sorry, than Mason. That should be flipped. I'm very, very high on Jordan Mason this year.
It's a bold take, but I'm buying what you're selling there, Thor. And I remember Jordan Mason. I believe it was Georgia Tech where I scouted him, and he did have a cup of coffee with the 49ers and did pretty well for them, I believe. So I'm circling Jordan Mason on my big board. All right, on the opposite end of the spectrum, but by the way, Ricky Pearsall, Trevor Lawrence, JJ McCarthy, Jordan Mason, guys that Thor is higher on than most. How about some guys that you're lower on than most?
Yeah, we got to get Joe Mixon off the boards. I mean, maybe people have already done that. Not hearing great things about Joe Mixon's health status, and when he
who's the guy though? Is it Chubb or is it Woody Marks? Who do you like more?
Well, so it's a very good question, Rick. I think Chubb now, where people are starting to get, he probably going to be at the start of the season. He's going to get some of that meat and potato stuff. So yeah, you could prioritize him later in drafts. In super deep leagues and in dynasty, I want to take a shot on Woody Marks. Now, as a prospect, I probably wasn't as high on Woody Marks as the Texans, merely because you have a little bit of a lower ceiling there. It's not a huge play. It's not a huge running back, and he's not crazy athletic. But the thing that I will say about Woody Marks, and for people out there to watch, Woody Marks began his career with Mike Leach at Mississippi State in an air raid, and he caught a million passes. Then they switched the system where it was the Arnett guy, and that team was horrible the one year that Arnett took over for Mike Leach. But Arnett had come from Appalachian State. It became more this downhill running game, and Woody Marks was pretty good at that too, going from one to the other. Then he goes USC, Lincoln Riley last year, yet another offensive system where it's probably closer to halfway between the two. And he was pretty good at that too. This is a guy we have seen succeed in college in various different schemes right from the start. He was playing for Leach right at the beginning, and we know he can catch the ball. There's some limitations there that cap the ceiling, but Houston, their running back situation is in dire straits right now. If they don't get anything from Mixon this year, then you're counting on Nick Chubb, right? We don't know how much longer Nick Chubb has. Dameon Pierce has been a disappointment since, basically the first half of his rookie season or whatever. Marks might get a shot this year. So in very, very deep leagues, or again in dynasty leagues, I think that's a guy that you buy the lottery ticket on or shoot your shot on.
Yeah, no, we're on the same page there. Right before you came on, I said he's going to be utilized as a slot weapon, and he might have more receiving yards than rushing yards this year.
For sure.
He's got some shiftiness now to him. He's not the fastest guy, but he's slippery in space. He can make the first defender miss. So I think he's going to be a poor man's Larry Center there in that Houston Texans if you're in a PPR league. All right. Any other guys that you're not too high on aside from Mixon?
I don't love Keon Coleman, especially with Khalil Shakir coming back. Keon Coleman, he's a little one trick pony for me. Where, in college, I liked when he'd get up off the ground, 40 yards down the field and sky up for the rebounds. A guy who Keon Coleman began his career at Michigan State, and he played basketball for Tom Izzo, and you see some of those skills down the field. Never a guy who has gotten separation. And so you're talking about PPR leagues, Rick. Keon Coleman's never going to catch a ton of balls in a given season because his utility, it's down the field. He's not creating separation for you and creating opportunities for you short and intermediate. That would be a guy I'm out on. I didn't draft any Trey Harris from the Chargers. Rookies acclimating in wide receivers for Jim Harbaugh. Don't love that system anyway, and I don't think he's going to be starting this year. So he's a guy that I've kind of faded as well. I'm fading David Montgomery a little bit, like at least at his current price point. Not sure if he keeps the exact same role that we've seen the last couple of years, and is the offense going to be as good for a player that is dependent on touchdowns in David Montgomery? Now you're playing this gauntlet schedule that the Lions are playing this year. Ben Johnson is gone. Of course, is there any depreciation in that offense and going up against the better teams? Are you going to score as many touchdowns? So I was fading him a little bit. And then one guy, Rick, I'm talking about guys a little bit lower. You want to go into the first round. One guy that I've been avoiding at his lofty price point up there is Devin Achane from the Dolphins. And this has been all summer. My take on this was last year, Devin Achane, the Dolphins give him over 300 touches. And this is an example of like where a team drafts a player and it's like, he's like this shiny toy and he has this specific utility and he comes in and he's even better than they think, right? And the first year they use him correctly. It's like the only downside of this asset is he's tiny. And we saw at Texas A&M when you tried to use him too much and he took too much damage, he starts to take on nagging injuries. Right. And so we've seen that at A&M. A&M modulated his usage to acknowledge that and to help Devin Achane improve the odds that you would get him for the entirety of the season. The Dolphins used him that way initially last year because there were so many issues on that offense. And now that coaching staff's been there for a little bit, you need this guy to manufacture your offense for you. You start to deviate away from the best plan for Devin Achane by giving him over 300 touches. And he got through that season credit to him. The data that we have in the NFL of players that are 190 pounds, less than 190, 95 pounds, that get over 300 touches in a season going to the next year, the data is not great on it. And you have already seen this summer, this month, there's been multiple reports of Devin Achane already having little nagging injuries, or he has to sit out this day of practice or whatever. That's a guy that I am concerned about, because we do not have historical precedent for a guy like that. Then the next year also getting 300 plus touches. The human body at a certain point can't take it at that size.
Valid points being made by Thor, Nystro, fantasylife.com. Make sure you go give it a visit for all your fantasy football needs. And that means Ollie Gordon is just hanging out there in the Dolphins backfield, which brings me to my next segment, which is rookie players to keep an eye on. Who do you got for us?
Great call, Rick. Ollie Gordon's a guy, and a couple of those coworkers at Fantasy Life have been trumpeting him the last couple of weeks for exactly this reason. Like, Ollie Gordon's starting to flash there in camp, like down the stretch there. It's like Ollie Gordon's starting to open up some eyes. The Dolphins had signed Alexander Madison, like with this sort of idea, and then Alexander Madison hurt now, and Ollie Gordon just sort of grabbed the baton with that and took it further than Madison could go. The Dolphins, they have wanted that bigger sort of back, take some of that meat and potato work that I'm talking about away from Achane. Hopefully, if you can help it, right? And Ollie Gordon, he has proven that he could be a complementary type piece to a guy like Achane. Very complementary skill sets with those two guys. Ollie Gordon, you're never going to get explosion out of him. Rick, as watching some of that Oklahoma State tape, even get out to the open field. Yeah, someone to chase him down from behind or whatever. But what you get from Ollie Gordon is efficiency, right? Between the tackles, he is going to minimum get what is blocked for him. He's a smart runner. He runs with some physicality. He can break tackles. He also can handle the receiving usage. It's the same thing. He's not dynamic where 30 yards down the field, he's going to be making plays, or he ain't going to be breaking anyone's ankles in the open field. But he is going to reel in what you throw to him. He's a reliable check down guy. He's good in screens. He's good in swings. And again, he just takes a profit every single time, Ollie Gordon. So I think that's a great call, Rick. And in the sort of nightmare scenario for the Dolphins where Devin Achane were to get injured, Ollie Gordon all of a sudden skyrockets up, right? I mean, that's a guy who all of a sudden he's a top 20 running back in fantasy, top 15. So that is definitely a guy right along with the thing with Achane that I want in those rookie drafts. Another one for you, Rick. I'm curious what you thought about this guy in the pre-draft. This is a guy who caught my eye down there in Mobile. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, but I did see you in the stadium, Rick, down there at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
One guy who really opened up my eyes, one of those first practices, was Isaac Tesla. You talk about getting downtown and getting off the carpet. Like he was difficult.
Very impressive.
Those guys in one-on-ones. And Rick, sometimes I feel bad for those corners who get stuck out on an island trying to cover a guy like that 40 yards down the field in those one-on-ones. It's like Tesla is 6'3.5", he's 215. He runs a 4.4 and his vertical's over 40 inches. Like, good luck to you downtown. And no one could deal with him down there. So the Lions end up taking him, local kid. You seen that video in the first preseason game where Tesla went to his draft meeting with the Lions wearing a Lions Tesla jersey. That was super cool. And what has been even cooler this preseason is we knew with Tesla, because this is what we saw with Arkansas at the last couple of years. No one likes the way that Arkansas used him. They used him as a big slot, and basically they used him, send him down the field. So like he was going downtown every time, and they toss him some lollipops every now and again, but otherwise essentially a decoy to keep the safeties back or whatever. What's been really cool to see what the Lions are doing with him initially, you're also seeing them manufacture him touches closer to the line of scrimmage, those sort of clear out concepts where the guys on the left, we're going to go to the right, and now we're going to leak Tesla the other way and try to get him against one dude in space, hit him on the hands, get him turn up field, and where he's a problem. It was some of the stuff we're in Puka Nacua. You go back 2 years ago, Puka Nacua's first training camp with the Rams, when it started to open your eyes, was like when you started to see the clips and in the preseason games of like, they're manufacturing this dude touches, right? Like, I already know that guy could win further down the field. And now it seems like this coaching staff and this good offense is making him a part of this thing where the manufactured touches, it's something where the dividends for that, you're going to see it every single game. It's not dependent on circumstance, right? So, I mean, obviously a higher percentage play there. So the fact that they're getting him involved in all this different stuff tells me that they see Isaac Tesla as a big part of this coming season. And then, of course, the trade of Tim Patrick to the Jaguars roughly a week ago just opened up that wide receiver 3 role for Isaac Tesla. So I think Tesla has a big season this year.
I too was impressed down there in Mobile, and you kind of like questioned your head, like, what was Arkansas doing with this guy? Just, but that to me is kudos to Detroit, who's been traditionally unorthodox with their selections according to the mainstream media, but they know how to target and identify players who fit their scheme. Brad Holmes has done a phenomenal job there with that. All right. Let's talk about a couple of any other guys before we talk about preparing for your fantasy football draft, whether it's tonight or tomorrow. Any other guys you want to get off your chest?
Yeah, I'll toss out a couple other rookies. One that I love. Now, this guy going to go higher, but like I would take him even higher than he is in the rankings or in redraft leagues and in dynasty leagues. But I love this guy for redraft as well. Tyler Warren from the Colts. Tyler Warren is going to be this year's Brock Bowers. Last year, the fantasy folks, I talked to, some of them would be like, oh, well, it's a rookie tight end, and rookie tight ends, they never do anything. And it's this terrible offense. And also the Raiders have Michael Mayer. So how can we expect? And it was like, no. That's this guy. You just manufacture him touches and you watch him go. The fact he's playing for a terrible offense, that it's a benefit for us in fantasy. They don't have other guys to give the ball to. You get Brock Bowers the ball within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and just what he will literally manufacture your offense for you, or a portion of it, right? It's the same thing with Tyler Warren this year with the Colts. Tyler Warren, 3 inches taller than Brock Bowers and about roughly 30 pounds heavier. Brock Bowers is a little bit more slippery, but Tyler Warren, you get more of the berserker stuff, but the utility is roughly the same. Penn State manufactured all kinds of touches for Tyler Warren last year, including in short yardage situations around the goal line, the jet sweeps, the end arounds. You had him used as a wildcat quarterback. Tyler Warren came out of high school in Virginia as a quarterback, and then they shifted him on campus to a tight end. But you get that short yardage stuff with him there. And then, like I said, those manufactured touches within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. Tyler Warren wears 44 because he grew up idolizing John Riggins. He runs a heck of a lot like John Riggins. Daniel Jones, we know, Rick. We know the body of work on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones don't throw 15-plus yard down the field no more, if he ever did, right? But the quick hitting stuff, the timing stuff with Daniel Jones, he's good at that, right? He just is. That's what Tyler Warren is going to do for you. So yeah, he going to be a favorite toy of Daniel Jones, Tyler Warren.
Once again, right before you came on, I said Tyler Warren, I got him penciled in for 600 yards and 5 touchdowns, and that's being conservative.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I would go over that. Like I think it is well within play for Tyler Warren to have 100+ targets this coming season. And last year, I think there was
he could lead the Colts in receiving. It's very well a possibility.
1000%. And people are already sniffing this out with Josh Downs. Like right when they announced that Jones is going to be the starter, it's like, oh, Jones, he loves those short passes, and Downs gets open quick, and that's sort of where he's fair, right? And fair to raise Downs in your rankings a bit. People aren't seeming to get it with Tyler Warren. Right, this is going to be the manufactured touch, dude. Is Tyler Warren? So I love Tyler Warren with that. A couple other ones for you. Everybody knows about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, so maybe I won't talk about him quite as much. But obviously, with Washington trading Brian Robinson, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, he got that shot to step right in. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, he had really fun tape at New Mexico, and then the NCAA screwed him last year. So
yeah, he's Bill now.
Bill Krosky-Merritt, that's right. Yeah. The last one I'll toss out. I'm a big fan of Caleb Johnson's game. Loved what Caleb Johnson did last year at Iowa. Iowa went to the full zone run scheme under Tim Lester. Prior to that, they did inside zone, they did outside zone with the Ferences, but it was sort of like, it's like a song where there's only 2 notes. And so it's a little bit easier for defenses to decipher. Tim Lester, he had come from the Packers staff. He'd been a Packers offensive assistant the year before. Of course, back in the day, he was the head coach at Western Michigan. But Tim Lester, he brings in that full zone system. And you got to see with Caleb Johnson how well he reads the field, his patience, running with tempo behind, you sort of pick down the line. You force the linebackers to declare their intentions through the gap before you do. And obviously he's really, really good at that, sucking them down. And then he's got an open lane to jut up field. And when Caleb Johnson gets his runway, the thing with him, not the best acceleration. I think at the NFL Combine on his 40 run, it was 7th percentile 10-yard split, but his max speed on that run was 22 or 23 miles per hour, which is absolutely flying for a 225-pound plus back like Caleb Johnson is. So this is how he accesses that speed, is on those wide zone concepts, his manipulation of the linebackers to give himself access to more open holes than analogous zone backs. I think Caleb Johnson's a great fit with the Steelers, and I think he's going to have a good rookie season as well.
Yeah, I could actually see him being a better pro than he was college player, and he was a pretty damn good college player. But again, identifying players who fit your scheme, Caleb Johnson fits it to a T. We've been very, very appreciative of your time here, Thor. You went a little overtime with us today. Before we get you out of here, once again, for those of us at home like myself, looking for the last second fantasy football advice, want to set up their leagues, tell us about fantasylife.com, what you're going to find over there. How do we just get caught up to speed? Some of these guys work 9 to 5s. They haven't done their homework or research. They just need the quick links, go-to information. Hit them with that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff at Fantasy Life for your fantasy drafts. We have like the rankings of all our different people that you can cut in different ways. You can customize them to any different kind of league setting. You can decide in advance. You can tell it like this is way above my pay grade, but like it's basically like you put in there. My strategy, I want it to be hero running backs. I want to prioritize running backs, or we want to wait on running backs, or we want to prioritize the wide receivers, whatever. You put it in there, and then it will customize the rankings exactly to your specifications for your draft. And then one cool thing that I really enjoy is the league sync deal that Fantasy Life has. You put in your passwords to these other sites with your fantasy teams, and then it brings all your teams onto one sort of interface. And you can do really quick lineups decisions using that, and obviously get the suggestions from and whatnot, waiver wire suggestions, whatnot. But for me, Rick, like once we get going in the fall, and then it's like every day we have all these different tasks. Like I love fantasy as much as anyone, but in the past, there's been times where it's like I'll forget to make the lineup change on Thursday night. Even me, like someone who has this job, because it's like, you have like 8 different things going on, and then there's a phone call, and then it's, I have to submit this thing, and then something happens like, make a video, whatever. With something like this, with the league sync, it makes sure that your lineups are set to go every week, so you don't get egg on your face like I need that myself.
I actually need that. So I've been infamous for missing out, especially those Thursday night football games. You get caught up in the day-to-day, week-to-week, and all of a sudden you're like, man, I forgot to set my lineup. So
it's the worst feeling. And for anyone out there, 20% off Fantasy Life subscription if you use the code Thor, THOR. So if anyone out there looking to make the draft week this week, use code Thor there.
Do it right now. Go to fantasylife.com, use the promo code Thor. And again, I can't thank you enough for giving us your time here. I know you're a very busy man, and officially our first guest. You made history here on the All Access Football Show, Thor. We can't thank you enough, my man.
Rick, you're someone I've been reading for a long time. You're someone I look up to in this space. It was an honor to come on the show. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's Thor Nice from everybody on his way out the door with some kind words here on the All Access Football Daily Show. And I can't think of a better guest to kick off our guest week here at the All Access Football Show, because it's jam-packed. We got Howard Balzer tomorrow. We got Kayla Santiago on Thursday. We got my guy Neil Stratton on the Football Friday, and Russell Landy on Saturday. Yours truly flying solo Sunday. Could be a special guest in the works. We'll let you know as the week wears on. Of course, we'll be back at it again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we are going to take one more one more commercial break, because when we come back, I have a very, very special guest who's going to make her All Access Football debut. We'll be back, everybody. Hey, RIC in the place to be. Ric Serritella for the world-famous All Access Football Report, read by 32 NFL teams, over 50,000 subscribers from 70 countries around the world. Checking in here from the legendary Jersey Shore, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show. It's been a long working process. It's been 3 years since I've been on hiatus from a daily talk show. I've grown significantly, a lot of trial and tribulations during that span. The growth personally and maturity professionally is coming into your living room, raw, unfiltered, unapologetic, real football talk, okay? I hope you're enjoying the content. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard, buckle up. It's a can't stop, won't stop situation. We'll be with you every day, 7 days a week, Sunday through Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. The football universe flows through my veins, and I'll tell you what, we've got a locked and loaded guest lineup here for you throughout the week, so don't go anywhere. Give us a visit over at allaccessfootball.com. We have a great promo sale going on for our listening audience. RIC VIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of allaccessfootball.com. You can follow the link in the chat room below. We love to get interactive with it. Drop us a line. Give us a shout. You got questions, we got answers. It's Ric Serritella, so you know who said it. Telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin. Since 2002, it's our 24th season of independent coverage, and we welcome you aboard, everybody.
My dad has a message for you. You were watching All Access Football. That message is from me telling you, oh, she got it. Bye.
All right. Well, we have one more special guest for you today. You just saw the words of Oceana Serritella, and school has not started yet here at the Jersey Shore. So she's still here rocking her Labubu shirt. And this is your All Access Football Daily Show debut. You used to come on the State of Football and the Football Playbook, and this is Daddy's new show. It's our second episode. We went a little overtime, but what do you want to say to the people on our way out the door?
Hi. Hi. That's what I had to say.
All right. A girl, a few words. We could all hope to be so lucky in life. But once again, I want to thank our special guest, Thor Nystro, for joining us today. It was outstanding insight. Our first official guest on the All Access Football Daily Show. We also broke down fantasy football sleepers. We gave you the Bill Belichick Fumbalaya by the Bumbleaya. And we've got the Labubu display. We've got the Labubu Museum here at the All Access Football headquarters. So buckle up. Thanks for tuning in. We're with you live 7 days a week, 10 a.m. Eastern. We will be back tomorrow with special guest Howard Balzer. Until then, see you tomorrow, everybody.